There's a moment in the Testament's episode 5 that lasts less than a minute, yet it quietly explains almost everything that's about to happen for the rest of the season. It isn't Commander Judd questioning Agnes. It isn't Daisy's secret meeting with Garth. It isn't even Becca's emotional confession. It's the dance. While everyone else sees a formal celebration, marking another tradition inside Gilead, the writers are showing us something entirely different. Every dance partner, every conversation, every forced smile is part of a giant political audition. Nobody inside that ballroom is there because they want to be. The girls are being evaluated. The commanders are choosing future wives. The ants are judging which girls best represent Gilead's ideals. Even Mayday is watching from the shadows, hoping one undercover pearl can gather enough information to change the course of the war. That's what makes Ball such a fascinating episode. It disguises itself as a social event, but underneath the elegant dresses, polished floors, and carefully rehearsed manners is one of the most dangerous battlefields we've seen in the Testament so far. No dragons, no explosions, no public executions, just conversations. And in Gilead, conversations are often far deadlier than weapons, because one wrong sentence can decide the rest of your life. If you enjoy breakdowns that go beyond the obvious and uncover the hidden storytelling woven into every episode, you're in the right place. Every theory on this channel is researched, written, and edited from scratch to connect details that are easy to overlook on a first watch. If that's your kind of content, consider subscribing. It genuinely helps the channel grow and lets me keep making deep dives like this for fans of The Testament and The Handmaid's Tale. And with that said, this is your spoiler warning because we're breaking down everything hidden inside episode 5. The title Ball sounds almost harmless, but titles inside the Testaments are rarely literal. The ball itself isn't the story. It's the excuse that allows dozens of powerful people to gather in one place while pretending everything is perfectly normal. Looking back, almost every important storyline in the episode begins because of this single event. Daisy gets closer to Garth. Becca reaches her emotional breaking point. Agnes is forced to confront another traumatic memory involving Dr. Grove. Commander Judd quietly reveals the kind of leader he wants to become. Aunt Lydia starts losing confidence in Aunt Vidala. Each of these moments feels separate while watching the episode, but they're actually connected by one idea. Gilead isn't celebrating. It's inspecting itself. The first hidden clue arrives before anyone even reaches the ballroom. Agnes spends several minutes worrying about the dress she's wearing, but her real concern has nothing to do with appearances. Her mind immediately drifts back to Dr. Grove and what happened during her examination. The dress becomes symbolic. To everyone else, it's something beautiful. To Agnes, it's another reminder that she's being prepared for a future she never chose. That's an important distinction, because Gilead constantly transforms control into ceremony. Every violation is hidden behind tradition. Every abuse is wrapped in religious language. Every sacrifice is described as honor. The girls are taught to believe they're attending the happiest night of their lives when, in reality, they're participating in a system that reduces them to potential wives before they've even had the chance to become adults. This explains why the episode spends so much time showing the girls interacting with one another instead of focusing entirely on the commanders. The real story isn't about the men choosing wives. It's about how Gilead has conditioned these young women to compete against each other. Shunammite constantly reminds everyone that only the best girls will receive the best marriages. Jehosheba fuels gossip whenever she sees weakness. Huldah quietly accepts every disappointment because she's been taught that's what good girls do. Even Agnes, who genuinely cares about Becca, begins pulling away emotionally because she's overwhelmed by her own fears. The system doesn't need chains when it can convince victims to police one another. That idea becomes even more obvious during the opening dances. On the surface, everything appears elegant. Music plays softly across the ballroom. The commanders smile politely. The girls perform exactly as they've been taught. But pay attention to where the camera keeps returning. It lingers on nervous hands, uncomfortable eye contact, forced smiles, and silent expressions that say far more than the dialogue ever could. The writers aren't asking us to admire the beauty of the event. They're asking us to notice how uncomfortable everyone really is beneath the performance. Then there's Daisy. Unlike the greens and plums, Daisy isn't participating in the ceremony. She's observing it. That's a crucial difference. While everyone else worries about impressing commanders, Daisy is studying the room like an investigator. Every conversation could contain useful intelligence. Every important official could reveal something valuable for Mayday. Her mission has quietly evolved beyond simple survival. She's no longer trying to blend into Gilead. She's trying to understand how Gilead's leadership actually functions from the inside. And that mission becomes far more dangerous the moment an elderly commander begins touching her without permission. Most viewers understandably focus on Garth stepping in to protect Daisy, but the biggest clue is what happens immediately afterward. Garth doesn't simply rescue her from an abusive commander. He gives her a new objective. He wants information about Agnes because of secret negotiations involving Japan. That single assignment tells us something enormous about the war. Mayday isn't only interested in military operations anymore. They're now chasing diplomatic intelligence. That means the conflict has expanded beyond Gilead's borders. And the decisions being made inside this ballroom could reshape international politics. And suddenly, what looked like a dance becomes one of the most important intelligence operations we've seen all season. The most revealing conversation in the episode doesn't happen in the ballroom. It happens inside a small bathroom, away from the music, the commanders, and the carefully rehearsed performances. Becca, overwhelmed after being pressured into drinking by an older commander, finally admits what she's been hiding all season. She doesn't want this life. She doesn't want to marry a commander, raise children for a regime she doesn't believe in, or spend the rest of her life pretending she's happy. For the first time, someone inside Gilead says out loud what so many others have only dared to think. That confession completely changes Becca's character because it proves she's no longer simply frightened of Gilead, she's beginning to reject it. Even more importantly, Daisy doesn't lecture her or tell her to be brave, she simply listens. In a world where every conversation is monitored and every emotion is treated as weakness, listening becomes an act of resistance. That scene also explains why Mayday values Daisy so highly. Her greatest strength isn't her ability to spy or memorize information. It's her ability to make people feel safe enough to tell the truth. Within a matter of minutes, Becca reveals both her fear of the future and the complicated feelings she has for Agnes. Those are secrets that could destroy her life if they reach the wrong person. Daisy suddenly holds enormous power over Becca, but she never even considers using it. The writers quietly show us the difference between Gilead and Mayday. Gilead gathers secrets to control people. Daisy protects them. Meanwhile, another relationship begins shifting in ways that could become incredibly important later in the season. During Agnes and Garth's unexpected dance, the conversation sounds casual, but every line carries hidden meaning. Garth asks careful questions about the recent Mayday attack while maintaining the appearance of an ordinary guardian. Agnes, meanwhile, feels something completely different. For the first time, someone sees her as more than a future wife. Their chemistry feels genuine, but the tragedy is that both characters are living behind carefully constructed masks. Agnes doesn't know Garth's true mission, and Garth can't reveal who he really is without risking everything. The dance becomes symbolic of the entire episode. Everyone is close to one another, yet no one is truly free to be themselves. The final clue arrives when Commander Mackenzie tells Garth that he'll soon become a commander. At first, it sounds like a reward for loyal service. Looking closer, it's actually the most dangerous promotion imaginable. If Garth is working with Mayday, moving higher within Gilead gives him access to information that could change the course of the war, but it also places him under far greater scrutiny. Every promotion brings more privilege, yet it also brings more eyes watching his every move. Looking back, Episode 5 isn't about romance or rivalries. It's about people quietly choosing who they want to become before the real conflict begins. The ballroom may have looked beautiful, but beneath the music and celebration, the foundations of Gilead were already beginning to crack. As the episode reaches its final moments, one character quietly becomes the center of everything. And surprisingly, it isn't Daisy or Agnes, it's Aunt Lydia. While most viewers are focused on the tension between the girls and the commanders, Lydia is watching something much larger unfold. Her confrontation with Aunt Vidala isn't simply about the girls drinking too much at the ball. It's about discipline, reputation, and the future of Gilead itself. Lydia understands that if the commanders continue treating these young women as disposable objects instead of future wives, the entire system begins to lose the moral image it desperately tries to project. Gilead survives because it convinces people that its cruelty is actually righteousness. The The moment that illusion starts to crack, so does its authority. Commander Judd provides another fascinating clue. Throughout the evening, he appears noticeably different from many of the other commanders. He stops the younger men from mocking the girls, privately speaks with Agnes when she becomes overwhelmed, and even presents himself as someone who genuinely wants stability rather than chaos. But the writers carefully leave one important question unanswered. Is Judd actually more compassionate than the others, or is he simply better at hiding his ambitions? That uncertainty makes him one of the most unpredictable characters in the series. The most dangerous people in Gilead are rarely the loudest. They're the ones who know exactly when to appear kind. Then comes one of the episode's quietest but most significant victories. Hulda learns that she's fertile, and everyone immediately celebrates. On the surface, it's treated as wonderful news. Yet if you step back, the celebration feels deeply unsettling. Hulda isn't celebrating a personal achievement. She's celebrating becoming more valuable to a regime that measures women by their ability to produce children. The writers intentionally make the moment uncomfortable because it reminds us how thoroughly Gilead has rewritten the meaning of success. What should be a private part of someone's life has become a public qualification for their future. The final scene with Commander Mackenzie and Garth may be the biggest piece of foreshadowing in the entire episode. Garth's promotion to commander sounds like the reward every Guardian dreams of, but viewers know something the characters around him do not. If Garth truly works with Mayday, this promotion places one of the Resistance's own agents closer to the heart of Gilead than ever before. Access to high-level meetings, political decisions, military strategies, and international negotiations could completely transform Mayday's ability to fight back. At the same time, one mistake would almost certainly mean execution. The higher Garth climbs, the more dangerous his mission becomes. When you connect all of these storylines together, the title Ball takes on an entirely different meaning. This wasn't a celebration, it was a test. Every major character left the ballroom changed. Daisy proved she could continue operating under enormous pressure. Agnes discovered that the future being planned for her feels more like a prison than a dream. Becca finally admitted she doesn't want the life Gilead has chosen for her. Garth earned the trust of Gilead while secretly serving its greatest enemy. And Aunt Lydia began recognizing that the system she helped build is becoming harder and harder to control. That's why Episode 5 is one of the strongest chapters of the Testament so far. It doesn't rely on massive action sequences or shocking twists to keep the story moving. Instead, it quietly rearranges every important relationship before the real conflict begins. The dances have ended, the music has stopped, and everyone has gone home believing the evening was a success. But beneath the polished surface, loyalties have shifted, secrets have multiplied, and the first cracks inside Gilead have become impossible to ignore. The real question isn't who found the perfect match at the ball, it's whether Gilead unknowingly invited the people who will eventually help bring it down. And if Episode 5 is any indication, the revolution won't begin on a battlefield. It will begin with people who finally stop pretending they believe the lies they've been forced to live.